Welcome to Empower Her Radio, the space for powerhouse women ready to step into their next level of abundance, purpose, and personal freedom. I'm Dr. Corey Winn, a high performance coach, doctor of physical therapy, philanthropist, and business consultant. I help ambitious women align with their highest calling, expand their wealth and impact, and create a life that feels as good as it looks. If you're a high achieving woman who's built success yet finds yourself craving more alignment, more purpose, more ease, you're in the right place. Here, we bridge the gap between ambition and fulfillment. Through transformative conversations and proven strategies, you'll gain the courage to step into the fullest expression of you. Build a powerhouse business that aligns with your expertise and divine gifts, and lead your life, both personally and professionally, with unshakable confidence, worthiness, and compassion. This is about expansion, legacy, and owning your power unapologetically. You already have everything inside of you to create a life of unlimited possibility. It's time to unlock it. Welcome to your next level. Let's dive in. This episode of Empower Her Radio with Dr. Corey Winn is brought to you by Her Quantum Rise, the private coaching experience for the woman who refuses to play small. Her Quantum Rise is where high-achieving women come to elevate their leadership, align with their deepest purpose, and unlock overflow in every area of life. This is where you shed the old paradigm, step into your highest identity, and rise with clarity, certainty, and unstoppable momentum. If you're ready to move from doing it all to leading from grounded power, if you feel the pull toward a bigger life, a bigger mission, and a bigger capacity to receive, then I would love to explore what this next level looks like for you. Book a complimentary call at www.corywin.com/free call and step into the room where your expansion becomes inevitable. Your rise starts here. Before we begin, I want to share something briefly. I'm currently opening a limited number of Her Rise private intensives, a one-day private experience for women ready for more clarity, ease, and aligned momentum. If you're feeling the pull for something more spacious and intentional, you'll find the details in the show notes. Now, let's jump into today's show. I am so excited to introduce today's guest, Rachel Allen. Her story alone is a masterclass in trust, courage, and creative power. Nearly 20 years ago, Rachel found herself stranded in Hong Kong with $200, no work visa, and a decision to make: panic or create. What followed was the beginning of a career in copywriting and online entrepreneurship that has spanned decades, hundreds of podcast conversations, and front row insight into how women actually build sustainable wealth and impact without burning themselves out or losing themselves in the process. Rachel, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So take us back to the beginning. Stranded in Hong Kong, or maybe even, like we said before this, all the way back to Appalachia. Tell us how
Yeah.
you ended up where you are now.
I would have never, it sounds ridiculous when I tell the story, but this is how it happened. So I grew up outside of Asheville in a tiny, tiny little town, and nobody ever left and nobody ever did anything else, and I just couldn't do it. So I,
I'm laughing earnestly. For those of you who don't know me, I also grew up in North Carolina and have a lot of family in very, very small town North Carolina who grew
yeah.
up and never left. So I hear this story and take it to heart.
Exactly. And when you're the one who does leave, then it's like, are we not good enough for you? And I'm like, no, but it's just like there's a whole world out there. I just want to see it.
Yes. Yes.
So I went to college for journalism in Tennessee and ended up graduating into the '08 recession, which was like, and I sent out over 200 resumes and I got zero responses back. So I ended up like unpacking boxes at Old Navy in their warehouse for a little bit. But I was like, that's not, what I would like to do with my life. So in my 22-year-old brain, I was like, well, what's the furthest place away from Tennessee? And it turns out it's Hong Kong. I bought a plane ticket and left, and I didn't think about a work visa or anything like that. And then when I got there, I was like, well, I've got like $200 in my bank account. I need to make rent. Like, what am I gonna do?
Yes. I love the resilience of that though, because you knew from the beginning, even in Appalachia, you were meant to do incredible things and meant to see the world and meant to do things. So I hope our listeners also hear, like, yes, that took courage, and you were not willing to settle for what you grew up around. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think so many of us can get stuck, especially if we're from small towns or have family in small towns, and feel like we can't leave and
Yeah.
can't do more for fear of judgment.
Oh, absolutely. And I think there's this fear, or at least I experience this of, am I going to somehow like think that I'm better than them? And I'm like, no, that's absolutely not that at all. It's just I really want different things with my life. And now I'm living back in Tennessee. I've come back to this place, these mountains that are my roots, and I love that too. And I'm so glad that I took the chance to just be like, I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe I'm going to be back in 6 months, who knows?
Right.
But I just got to try it.
Yeah. So tell us about Hong Kong. What did you build there after being stranded with no work visa?
Well, I was Googling like how to make money online, and it's '08, so it's like slightly less stupid now, but only very slightly. And I saw all the scams and all the everything. And then this job, this freelance writing job came up, and it was for something called copywriting. And I'm like, huh, what's that? I don't know. Let me try. And it was writing some sort of like ad for like an Airbnb experience, but this was of course before there was Airbnb because I'm ancient. So like that. And I
We're
wrote it.
not ancient. I think we're the same age.
I always call myself an internet dinosaur because this is my 18th year in business, and I'm like, oh, I remember the olden times. But I took the job and I totally thought that they were gonna like scam me, and they ended up paying me $3 instead. And I was like, oh yeah, like I got money for writing. Are you kidding me? And I was totally hooked. And so I transitioned that into a freelance writing business, and then from there grew it into an agency, and then moved the agency back into individual consulting because I ended up liking that better. And it's been a whole journey.
What has been the most favorite part of your journey, or the most fun thing that you ever had to write?
Oh gosh, there's so many good ones. I mean, that's the thing I love about this is that I get to learn new things all the time. So I think
Mhm.
one of my favorites I ever wrote was for this guy in Harlem, a really good friend who does ancestrally informed skincare. And
Oh,
it's
that's
really
cool.
cool. It's made of beef tallow, which is
Uh-huh.
the stuff. And so like when he came to me, he was like, I'm selling my like cow tallow skincare. And I was like, we got to come up with a better name for that, man. 'Cause, like it's great,
Now
but nobody
tallow is all
wants
the
it.
rage.
Yeah. I know he was ahead of the curve. So I loved that. And I just love the freedom of being like, you know what? I want to live in Budapest for a while. I'm gonna go live in Spain for a while. Like I loved being able to move around like that.
Well, and being able to kind of take control and really monetize the gifts that you already had is also incredibly freeing.
It really is. And I had never really thought about that because this is my only like job I've had as an adult. But when I see other job descriptions or when I see other people talk about like what they do for their work, I'm like, oh gosh, that sounds like a lot of email. I don't want to do that.
Oh my gosh. Well, and I think, especially for other high achieving women, we think there's something we should be doing.
Yes.
And if we can take that should hat off and look at, okay, but I really love this. And for some
Mm.
people, doing what you love and then monetizing it can ruin it.
Oh,
And
totally.
other times it can give such incredible freedom. So, what would you say to that woman who's listening, who's like, oh, I'm in a job that I have the skills for and it's good money,
Yeah.
but I hate it and it's sucking my soul away. But I love this thing over here. I don't know if I can monetize that.
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing I'd say is you can monetize basically anything. So I've worked with everyone from accountants to astrologers to sex workers to those people who make little like pet costumes.
Oh, yeah.
Like everyone, there is somebody who will buy whatever it is you're doing. I think the real question is, do you want to only enjoy it as something for you, or maybe something that you give away to your friends? Do you want the stress of like, this has to earn money, which it has this implied judgment in it of like, I put it out and then people decide whether it's worth it or not.
Right.
That's a big psychological thing. And I think that's the main thing, like with entrepreneurship that nobody knows before they get into it, is
Mhm.
that it's a business journey, but it's really a personal growth journey.
Oh, 100%. It's like 95% personal growth and 5%
Yeah,
strategy and business.
absolutely.
I went to PT school and you would think, oh, okay, you have this degree. You're incredibly successful. Great. There is zero understanding of business or entrepreneurship coming out of PT school. So, launching into the entrepreneurial world, I was clueless. And I think that it's really important that we both talk about that too, because so many women I talk to are afraid to make that jump because they don't know how.
Yeah.
None of us know how. I still to this day am like, well, we're going to try this now because we'll see. That works
Yeah,
a little bit, but then we're going to move over here. And I think what I'm hearing most from you too is taking that leap, even if you're scared, even if you're not quite sure what's going to end up on the other side, because you do have skills. And I think that as long as we realize, yes, there's always a fallback option if you really want to look at it like that. Like you do
oh,
have
yeah.
these other skills, you do have something you can do. Let's try it.
Absolutely. And I think that's such good advice. And that's what I tell people as well. Like I hear a lot of people get to that point when they're in their career and they're like, I'm just gonna burn it all down. I'm just gonna like quit my job and move to Bali. And I'm like, okay, that can be awesome. That can also
Yeah.
be a really good way to ruin Bali for yourself because you're stressed all the time. So instead, like, what is the smallest experiment you can run with this and see what results you get? And then you get a little bigger and a little bigger. And that's also a great way to build your own confidence because, honest to God, entrepreneurship, all it is solving problems
Oh yeah.
over and over and over and over again. And everybody, you can solve a problem. You know how to do that. And you can't plan for it in advance. And it's going to be a lot of stuff that you don't understand. And sure, it's scary and you have to have a risk tolerance. But all of these high achieving women I've worked with, all these women in their 7, 8 figure businesses, it's like, I don't know, let's try it and see what happens. And
Yeah.
then you make a decision based on that.
I love that you mentioned risk tolerance because it is something that really needs to be talked about. And a lot of times people don't think about it. There are
Yeah.
some people who are totally fine burning it all down, ending up in Hong Kong with $200 and like, I'm good, I'm fine.
Yeah.
And other people who need to have 6 months of savings in the bank and know that all their bills are paid. And there's no right or wrong. It's a journey more of learning how to trust yourself. So, how do you
Absolutely.
feel like that kind of evolved from 22 and leaving Appalachia to Hong Kong and now?
I think it has been a real change in that, I mean, for the first 10 years or so of my business, I was moving countries basically every 6 months. And also, I was in my 20s and I was like, I don't know, let's just try things. And so it's a lot easier to be like, who knows what's happening? I'm in my 20s, everything's fine. And then as I started getting older, I started wanting to build more stability with my business, and that was actually harder for me. It really was like a mental development for me because I was like, man, I didn't ever have any doubts when it was like we're moving countries and I have to make rent. I don't know, something will happen. And but
Right.
then when it's like, oh, I'm building like a grown-up business, then I'm all of a sudden I'm like, but how do I don't even know how to do this. And I'm like, girl, you've been doing this for 10, 12 years now. Come on, you know how to do this.
Yeah.
But it really does take learning your own risk tolerance, and that changes over time, right? Like I'm a lot less, I wouldn't say I'm less risk tolerant, but I'm just less, I know what works now. And so like I go with that, and that lets me have risks with the things that I want to and not stress about, losing my rent.
Well, and I think too, it allows you to grow into an incredibly intuitive woman. The fact
Mm,
that you picked up and literally went to another country and then went all around, you couldn't rely on anyone but yourself.
yeah.
And I'm sure your family still checked in, but being able to sit back and say, I did this,
Yeah.
I soared, now I want to settle down, maybe. Um, you built something incredible and confidence along the way. What do you feel like your biggest kind of personal development moment was throughout your
Mm.
entrepreneurship journey?
Ooh. So. I've got two. I think one was like, I'll just say the money thing in general, because I never thought I would be a business owner. I always thought that I was like bad with money. I'm really bad at math. And so I thought there's no possible way I could be good with money. And so
Yeah.
that's been an ongoing thing, which I know a lot of women also go through, where it's like,
Oh
nope,
yeah.
like you can figure this out. Accountants aren't scary. They like you. They want to help you. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
But the one core moment of personal development I always think about is I was about 3 years into my business and I was living on this like Greek island and it was super beautiful and I like worked in the morning and sunbathed all afternoon and I was so unhappy the whole time. I
Oh
was
gosh.
so anxious because I was like, man, I've been like out of the job market for like a couple years. What if I can't ever get a real job? Blah, blah, blah. And that was the moment where I decided to take my business seriously, as opposed to like, there's this thing that accidentally keeps giving me money. How did that happen? And then be like, okay, no, I'm actually doing this. I'm in charge of this. I can do it.
Yeah. Well, and it requires boundaries, it requires structure, and I think a lot of us who have had a typical 9 to 5, I mean, I think back when I was working full time as a PT, a patient came in at 8, 8:45, it was so structured and I didn't even have to think about it. And launching into entrepreneurship, it takes a different kind of responsibility that might take a little bit of failing forward to figure out.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it may take in your 20s it looks like this, and in your 30s it looks like this, and oh wait, in your 40s now it looks like this.
Yeah.
um how have you helped the women that you've worked with sort of create boundaries or position themselves in that specific way that honors them in this season of their life?
Oh, I love that question. No one's ever asked me that. And that is so much of the work I do. So thank you.
You're welcome.
So a lot of what I do is positioning people to show I guess to like set up the relationship they want to have with their audience and with the people who buy from them and still show themselves in a way that's as true to themselves as possible. And so a lot of times women will come to me in transition. So either they've run a business for a while and they're like, actually, I'm kind of bottlenecked, like I don't really know, something's wrong, but we need to like refresh. Or they're coming to me because they've been, in the C-suite or exec or something like that in, say, a law firm or an accounting firm, and then they're starting their own practice. So they're highly skilled, but there's something where they're like, I know I'm not showing up the way I need to because I'm getting tire kickers. I'm getting people who don't understand what I do. I'm getting people who
Right.
like haggle about the price, all that kind of thing. And so what I always ask them is I say, aside from this work, like, what do you actually care about? What are you really doing this for? And the question I phrase it with that always makes people cry is if all of a sudden what you're doing today was completely off the table, you could never be a copywriter again, you could never be a coach again, you could never whatever. What would you do? And they're like, oh, because you have to get to the heart of what it is you're actually doing. So in my case, it's I amplify things. I know that words are the technology by which ideas and influence spread, and so I would go do that in another way. Maybe it would be speaking, maybe it'd be something else. But if you can get to that heart of what you're actually doing and really ground in on that first, then it makes it so easy to set your boundaries and positioning with other people because you're not doing that in reaction to them. You're doing it
Mhm.
in your relationship with yourself first.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And I would think that it would take a level of intuition too, of really being able to step back and say, what do I want?
Yeah.
What do I love? And I don't know about the woman you've worked with, but that is usually the question I ask my clients that's like a deer in the headlights, like,
Yeah.
I, I don't know. Even
Yeah.
though they've been successful on paper for years, it's like, oh my gosh, nobody's asked me what I wanted before.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because it's so easy, especially when you are successful like that. You become this function in your business, and then people forget about you. And it's easy for you to forget about you because that's the way that you earn the money is by performing the role. But I think you've seen, and I've certainly seen, when you can get back to that spark, that heart thing, that's when people's businesses explode overnight. That's when things change. That's when you get finally that sense of like, this is why I did this to begin with.
Right, right. Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. Well, and you've seen copywriting kind of since its inception and freelance writing and whatnot. How do you feel like that's changed in the world of AI? How has that helped your business? How has that changed it?
Yeah. So I've had a lot of people asking me about this, and they all seem to think that I'm like really afraid of AI. And I'm like, No, I think it's just a tool,
Yeah.
because I've done this. I think I wrote an essay when this first started coming out, or popularizing a couple of years ago that said, n oh shoot, no, the apocalypse is not upon us. That's what it was called. And I was like, look, I've been through like 4 to 5 internet apocalypses already. Like
Oh
Google
yeah.
changed their algorithm, we had GDPR, we had all this stuff. And every single time everyone's like, the internet's over, go home. You can't do it. No one can make money online. It's like, okay, maybe. Or we can just figure out how to integrate this new tool and use it. And I think that's exactly what it is. It's a wonderful, very useful tool. Where I see people falling down with it is they get insecure and they think that the robot knows better than them. And I'm like, look, your car doesn't know how to drive better than you do. Your frying pan doesn't know how to make an egg better than you do. You're the
Yes.
person using the tool. And so that's what I keep telling people with marketing. I'm like, dude, if you want to use AI, you go for it. But I need you to understand what it's doing and what it can do and what it can't do. And I see a lot of people relying on it to replace them. And that's, working out super great for them. Not really. They're all coming back and being like, actually, I need a human marketer to do my stuff for me now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think AI is an incredible tool with you as the expert, with
Yes.
you as the person who still checks over everything, still is the person behind the mission, because that
Yeah.
way, the more you can give it about exactly what you're looking for, the better the product. Because that
Yeah.
was my fear in the beginning, was just that it was just going to be this robot that didn't sound like anything like me. And I've learned to walk alongside AI, or have AI walk alongside me, really, and produce beautiful content that's still my expertise behind it. Or if it's from a physical therapy standpoint, it's still my expertise behind that. And I think
Yeah.
that's where I hear you saying that women can really like move themselves forward and embrace AI with boundaries, essentially.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think it's a wonderful way to talk about it because I think the way that so many people are trying to push AI is like you should use it to replace these functions that you do. It knows better than you. You shouldn't believe in yourself. And I hate that because I see so many women come into business already a little bit shaky on whether they can trust themselves. And I'm like, nope, I promise you can. You'll figure it out. Use this to amplify yourself or don't. If you don't like it, don't do it.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I love that you talk about amplifying yourselves because, I think back to the dreaded positioning statement when we
Mm,
had to apply for college, and it was like, tell us all the wonderful things about you. And it was like,
yeah.
blank face. I've done
Yeah.
nothing good in my life.
Yeah.
And I think so many women, especially when they jump out into the entrepreneurial world, it's like, well, I don't have skills. I don't have anything to offer.
Yeah.
And some of us may have heard from family that that same thing, whatever, you don't have value.
Right.
So, how do you help these women position themselves in a way that amplifies their voice, shows off their expertise, and help them also realize that it's not bragging or that
Mm.
bragging's not bad?
Yeah. Oh, I love this. So I think the first part is psychological to just be like, you know what? It's completely fine. You can say whatever is true about you. And things often sound so they never feel as cool on the inside as they sound on the outside. And that's where we underplay ourselves, right?
Yep.
So I teach a workshop about bio writing, which I always bring this exercise up in, and I have people say something just that was just cool, and then don't tell them the understory because it's so easy for us to be like, in my example, words I wrote were read or heard by over 1 million people a month for about 3 years. And that's just true. And when I say that, it's like, oh, wow. But of course, in my head, I'm like, well, it's just because I was like on this one podcast and I was working with this client, but that doesn't make anybody feel better. It doesn't make you feel better. It doesn't make me feel better. So you just say the thing. If it's true, you can say it. And that's not bragging. That's just the truth. And then, as far as like how to actually create that positioning statement, I asked them 3 questions, which sound really simple, but once you get into them, you're like, ah. So the first one is, like, who am I, or what is this product? What
Hmm.
is it really, and who cares about it?
Hmm.
And so, if you can answer those questions, that's your positioning right there, and that's how you get to something like, I do marketing for good people doing hard work that matters, right? It sounds really simple. Took about 4 years of like picking
Oh,
at those
yeah.
questions to finally get to that level of clarity.
Oh, yeah. And I think that that's really important. And I'm so glad that you said that because I think, and I found myself in this box, is we think that we have to have it all figured out day one. My
Mm-hmm.
brand is completely different
Oh,
two
yeah.
years later now than it was when I started. Colors, vision board, everything's completely different.
Yeah.
And I think that is so incredibly important because that's where so many women stop. It's like, oh, well, I didn't get it right the first time. Oh,
Hmm.
there's lots of reiterations that we have
Yeah.
over time.
Yeah, the good thing about the internet, you can change it anytime. And so, what I encourage people to do is get really clear on yourself and your values, and then just try something from there. And you're going to iterate on it and you're going to learn. And it's just like learning how to do whatever you want to do with your personal appearance, right? Like
Mhm.
maybe you try on this kind of skirt and you're like, actually, that kind of sucks. I don't like the way that looks. I prefer overalls or whatever, but you have to try it on to figure it out.
Well, and I think too, something that I heard you say that's really important is not only positioning yourself well, but I think something that I've heard too, I recognize in my own life, when I was struggling, I was at a networking event with a colleague of mine, and she was walking around. I was kind of following her, and she was introducing this woman who sounded like such a badass. And then she turned to me and she said, and here she is. And I was like, wait, what? And so I think sometimes too, we get to borrow our hope and our worth from other people for a little bit until we
Yeah.
really integrate it and embody it in ourselves. And that's also okay.
Oh,
So I hope
absolutely.
women who are working with you are also like, okay, Rachel said this about me. That sounds really incredible. I'm going to hold on to that and use it until I believe it myself.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I think that's a huge part of what I do. And that's also what I recommend women starting out is try and find a friend group of people who like you genuinely get. Because there's a lot of like online groups for women that are just sort of selling you stuff. But it's like if
Yeah.
you can find your particular flavor of weirdos who really
Yes.
get you, that's what makes all the difference.
Well, and stepping too into the room where other women are going to hold your dream with
Yeah.
as much esteem or higher esteem than you do, and
Hmm.
not turn around and go, "Why are you doing that?"
Yeah.
Those are the rooms you step out of and move
Hmm.
into other ones. And, and I think back having family in small town North Carolina, and what I've had to realize over the years is that leaving and feeling that pull to go and do something better is not a bad thing.
Oh,
And I
absolutely.
think that you don't have to come from a small town to have that relationship, but to get out of what you know and have always known as true and to do something different is fine.
Yeah.
It there's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't make you a bad person, you know, and family's gonna say what family says. That's kind of what I've come around to over the years.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think people around me still often don't understand exactly what it is I do, mostly because I don't talk about work when I'm off work stuff.
Right.
But that's why it's so important to have that group of people who you can talk to and be like, oh my God, this happened today. And they're like, oh my God, me too, you know?
Yes.
And
Yes.
have those conversations. And I love what you pointed out about like, you don't have to stay anywhere that you don't love. I think as women, especially, we get into this like, oh, but they're really nice, or like I could help them, or I can contribute, or whatever. And it's like, okay, sure. And also, you have to make sure that you're taking care of yourself first because that's how you can truly contribute.
Right. In this only one life that we have, I don't want to ever have anything that's sucking my soul away.
Yes.
Now, yes, are you going to have days that things happen or or family happens or whatever? But, I worked with a colleague recently who was really kind of at a crossroads in
Mm.
career and life and I said, first and foremost, you know what to do. You don't need my permission or anybody else's. And two, I don't ever want anybody, including myself, to stay in a place that's sucking their soul away.
Yeah.
So that's my question to you. Do you feel like this is sucking your soul away?
Yeah.
Um, when you've been working with women who feel like they're gripping or working all the time or hustling and grinding, how have you helped them let go of some of that control or create more peace and space in their life?
Well, the first thing I do is I ask them what's going on there. Because sometimes you just really like working all the time. I've been through periods of my life where that's all I want to do because it's really fun.
Yeah.
And so if it's like, hey, if it's lighting you up, if you're enjoying it, that's fantastic. And let's make a plan for when it stops being fantastic.
Mhm.
And I also ask them, is there something that you're doing just because you feel like nobody could do it exactly like you? And so with writing especially, right? They're like, "Oh, but I have to write every social media post. I have to write every blog post. I have to do everything." And I'm like, "Maybe that's true. It might be. But could we experiment and see if maybe it's not?" And so I that's just giving them this moment of, you know what, maybe you can trust somebody else with this. And if it ends up being terrible, you know what, we'll scrap it. It never happened.
Right.
But if you can just taste it for a minute and then relax into it, then a lot of times they'll realize, oh, you know what, actually, what I really like to do is ideate and I really want somebody else to do the writing. Or what I really love to do is the editing and I need somebody else to ideate for me. It's just finding that place that really feels good to you.
Well, and I think too, trusting yourself that making a decision for right now doesn't have to mean forever. Just like you said, you can totally scrap it. And I think as women, a lot of times we feel like we need that permission to
Yeah.
pivot or to move over here. And I mean, you've pivoted so many times, I've pivoted so many times. And part of the vision and mission of this show is to normalize that.
Yeah.
That just because you went to school for this, or you grew up here, or your family did this, you don't have to stay in that box. So, how have you helped women recognize that maybe they are in the box
Mhm.
and how to get out of it?
A lot of times when I talk to women who are in the box, they will almost do like physical motions that show you. So I'm sure you've seen as well where they're kind of like scrunched in on themselves or they knock into things a lot, you know, like when they're walking. I had one lady who I was like, I don't know how to describe this because you're sitting perfectly still, but I feel like you're wrestling pantyhose on. And she was like, that's how I feel.
It is such a perfect visual. If
It's that
anybody
like
has ever worn pantyhose, it's like, you're so tight.
right, right. And you're like, why are you sticking? You know, and you're trying to like squeeze yourself into them, and it's just awful all around.
Oh my gosh, that's so perfect.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
and I
like,
had,
oh, go
go ahead.
ahead. I was just saying, so I asked them, you know, like, what's going on? And usually that's when the tears start, you know, because they'll be like, oh, actually, you know, I really hate this, or I really want this, and I can't believe I still haven't done it. And I'm like, okay, well, that's great. Now we know, you know, now you can decide to do something else.
Yeah. Well, and I think that also goes back to giving themselves permission to dream again. How
Yeah.
many women have you worked with who have lived for their spouse, their kids, their aging or ailing parents,
Yeah.
and haven't lived for themselves in decades?
Oh gosh. You know, a friend of mine, I was interviewing her recently for a panel about the wage gap in entrepreneurship, and she said this quote that stuck with me ever since, and that was, I know so many women who are trying to build their business in 15-minute increments around their families. And I was just like, oh, same. And that's just impossible.
Yeah,
So I see that a lot. And what I try to do is always respect the reality of their life first, right? Because if you try to tell them like, oh, if you just wanted it more, you could
right,
change it. No, that's not true. You still have kids, they need to be fed. You still have your parents, they have to go to the doctor.
right.
And so it's like, okay, given the current constraints and realities of your life, and given what you want, how do we square that circle? Like, what can we do to give you a little more freedom, even if it's 10 minutes of freedom, even if it's 15 minutes, you know, and then you work up from there. And so it's really about, I think, reminding them that it's okay, even if you can't act on it for now and having that support system. I often like I have a couple of friends that I call and I'll be like, "Look, I need you to be the business grown up for me today. Tell me it's okay to fire this client." And they're like, "It's okay." You know? So like having these people who are like, "Nope, business grown up. Remember Wednesday mornings is when you work on this." And you're like, "Okay, Wednesday mornings," you know? And it just helps you keep your mind straight on it.
Yes. Well, and I think too, um, being cognizant of who you call in
Yeah.
those situations. We all have one person or maybe many people in our lives who we could call and just vent to, who just jump on the
Mhm.
bandwagon with us and are like, no, stay at home, cancel everything, wallow
Yeah.
in it. And then there's the people who are like, I hear you, and have you
Right.
looked at it this way? And you have to have that discernment of what do I need in this moment and what does my business need in this moment? Because
Absolutely.
those don't always match
Hmm.
and what's going to move me forward.
Yeah. Absolutely. I had someone tell me a quote where they said if you're 90% sure about something after 90 days, you should do it. And that's what I tell women in that position as well. Because I'm like, let's just give it 90 days. And then if you need to change it, we'll change it. But like, let's try it out. Let's try the sales page. Let's try the campaign, whatever. You just need to give it a little bit of time sometimes too, because when you're in that position and used to sort of um, being the first line of defense for everybody around you, and then your life just gets completely pulled in all these directions. Sometimes you need to say, look, I need 90 days. And then after that, we'll figure something else out. But I just need to see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and having that open, honest conversation. And I know that we don't all live in the perfect bubble. You know,
Yeah.
there are people in your life who are used to you being a certain way for them. And sometimes it's not always met with, okay, sure. You know, I
Yeah.
am incredibly lucky. My husband's like, all right, let's go. You're a badass. What do you need? Let's,
Yeah.
I know that not everybody has that. And I'm very blessed that I do. And having an open, honest conversation with your parents, with your kids, with this to say, hey, I'm really working on this and it's really important to me. These are the things that I need. How can we establish these boundaries? How can we do this? And it may take, like, we're gonna do one new thing this week.
Yeah. Yeah, and having a plan for, okay, what happens when life happens? You know, kids get sick or somebody has a doctor's appointment or something, you know, we go on vacation and then everything's all up in the air. I think so many women fall into this dream of like the perfect schedule and like the perfect time and everything will align and then it will be easy. And it's like, no, sometimes it's just going to be weird and hard and you just sort of take a swipe at it and then come back tomorrow.
And I love that you said starting with 90 days because at the end of December, I totally gutted my schedule. I mean,
Oh,
for a lot of people, it probably would scare them, but I'm a color person.
yeah.
So, you know, each color means something. It's literally in not minute by minute increments, but like I'm doing this during this time because I
Yeah.
needed that much structure
Hmm.
as an entrepreneur
Yeah.
versus working as a PT. It was given to me.
Right,
A new
right.
patient came in every 45 minutes. That's just what happened.
Yeah.
So also giving yourself grace to learn yourself and what you need
Yes.
is also not a straight line. And I think I feel
Absolutely.
like you've said that really, really well. So one other thing I really want to touch on is like surviving your life versus living in overflow.
Mm.
How do you
Mm.
feel like you've moved through that? And what does that look like for you now?
So I think it was so much about survival for the first probably 5, 7 years of doing my business, maybe a little longer. Um, and when it started moving into like, oh wait, things are actually okay all the time, it actually really freaked me out because I didn't know how to deal with just like things being okay. I knew how to deal with crises really well, but like abundance and things being all right and sales coming to me when I wasn't out like banging on everybody's door to try and get a sale and things just kind of happening, it was like, I just need a moment to like recalibrate my nervous system to this.
Yes. Oh, I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah, because that's so much of it, you know. I was so used to like I have to overwork, I have to outperform, I have to do this. I was like, okay, but what if you just chilled?
Mhm.
Like, what if you just took a breath? And I was fortunate in that I've been through several periods of burnout, and finally, like, got the lesson of, you know what, you actually need to chill because like your body will not do this forever. And so I think people get the idea that taking space or figuring out what you need or giving your body what it needs is somehow luxurious or like something you do later. And I'm like, dude, it's gonna come for you. Like it will start taking the time. So it's not an abundance. It's a you have to figure out how to make that work for you and figure out your needs because otherwise like survival will kill you.
Yes. Oh, yes. And I'm so glad that you said to just relax. I had a mentor recently. She just looked at me with the most loving look on her face and she was like, Corey, you have got to chill.
Yeah.
I sat there and was like, I have heard that my whole life. I don't know how to do that.
Right.
And for so many of us, I mean, I kid you not, sitting down and meditating for 15 minutes was physically painful.
Yeah.
My body could not stay. And I just had to push, I don't want to say push, I had to allow my body to feel those things to finally
Mhm.
be able to get there. And
Yeah.
it's crucially important. And so I'm so glad that you talked a little bit about your nervous system and making those boundaries because we can't. Our
Yeah.
bodies literally cannot live in survival mode forever. It was meant to run from tigers and things,
Right.
thousands and thousands of years ago. It's not real life.
Yeah.
What I want to be super respectful of your time. What do you feel like the one big thing that you do now to ground yourself or to take care of yourself before you get to that place?
I love that question. So I'm still experimenting with it. It's still kind of a like whatever. But the thing I'm doing right now is actually color blocking my schedule, like you. And making sure, so I have a list up on my wall here of 5 things that like really feed me every
Mhm.
day. And then every single day I look and I'm like, did I do that one? Okay, yep, I did one. Did I do two? Oh, that's great. But I
Mhm.
have this non-negotiable of like, I have time set aside to do at least one thing that genuinely relaxes me and feeds me.
Mhm.
And everything else is a bonus.
I love that. I was thinking about that earlier today, trying to figure out like, okay, there's a lot of things that I enjoy, but what actually feeds me? And the thing that I always come back to is walking around like plant stores.
Yeah,
I
totally.
and in my alter ego in my other life, I am a gardener and love plants. And I think it's really important that you can find that thing that is enjoying but actually fills your cup because it doesn't
Mhm.
they're not always the same. Like I love to
Absolutely.
sit and read, but then at the end of the day, a lot of times I'm like, oh crap, I didn't get anything done today. And it didn't make it better.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And I think finding whatever hobby or whatever thing it is that is interesting enough to pull you away from the work is so important because I think the work it's so rewarding, right? But you
Yes.
have to find something. So gardening or going for walks or quizzes or like whatever it is that you enjoy enough, you got to
Mhm.
find something like that.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. This conversation has been so beautiful. I want to make sure our audience knows how to get in touch with you, how to follow you, how to find out what's going on in your life, all those things. How do they do that?
Yeah, well, you can find me at boltfromthebluecopywriting.com. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn, or you can just send me an email like it is the ancient times at hello@boltfromthebluecopywriting.com, and I will email you back.
I love that. Do you have any lasting words or advice for our audience today?
Hmm. You know what I always say about entrepreneurship is where almost nothing is your fault, but almost everything is your problem. And the good news is you are really good at solving problems. I know you can do this.
Oh, I love that. That's so beautiful. Thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
As we close out today's episode, I want to leave you with this. Your next level is already within you. If you're feeling that pull for more clarity, more alignment, and more courage to step fully into who you're meant to be, this is your invitation to take the next step. Whether you're an entrepreneur ready to scale or a woman standing at the edge of something bigger, the path forward starts with trusting your desires, owning your worth, and leading with your inner knowing. This is exactly what I offer: private VIP coaching, and where I guide women inside the 10K Club and 50K Club through consulting with She Sells and Superhuman Selling to help you gain clarity, step into aligned action, and build a life and business that reflects your highest vision. If you're ready to explore what's next, let's have a conversation. Book a free call now at www.corywinn.com/free call. I can't wait to connect with you. Talk soon.